Good Friday evening, folks. Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandagius here with you. I hope you're all nestled in and all cozy on this cold winter night. We've got snow falling across parts of the area. It just started to. Took a little while to overwhelm some of this dry air that's entrenched at the surface, but it has been doing so, and we're starting to see it break out from southwest to northeast just a couple hours later than normally anticipated with forecast trends earlier. I don't think it'll cut down too much on what we see in terms of snowfall accumulations, because snowfall rates just to our west are pretty significant out to the west of I-85 and I-95. So I'll show you that in just a little bit. But here's satellite radar loop over the last 6 hours, showing the precipitation. A lot of cold air in place in central and western North Carolina. And even northern portions of South Carolina saw a fair amount of snow, and eventually that did transition over to some sleet and freezing rain farther to the south, where you see that change from the blue over to the purples and pinks. That's that mixed precipitation, and of course the green closer to the coast, where conditions are a little bit milder, just seeing plain old rain there. But a closer look of live radar, I kind of want to take you back in time here and explain what's been happening over the past couple of hours. All we need to do is go back about 2 hours here and show you what the radar was looking like. I want to point out what you're seeing here. Let me draw it in for you. Here is the radar site out in Wakefield. So I'm going to draw a circle around that radar site. Notice how there's almost just a void in the radar returns there. It's to the northwest of there, it's to the south, it's to the west, it's to the southeast, but nothing really over the radar site. Let me explain a little bit about what goes on with radar meteorology, okay? So our radar site in Wakefield, it's on the ground, right? It's on a pedestal, and it's got a beam and a dome. And it shoots out a radar beam at an angle. So as it gets farther away from the radar site, it gains altitude and elevation. So when you get out, say, 20, 25 miles from the radar site, you're about 2,000 feet up, and that beam is sampling what's falling at 2,000 feet, okay? In this type of setup where we had dry air in place, we're talking dew points down in the teens, air temperatures in the mid-30s. So a large dew point depression, that's the difference between the temperature and the dew point. When it's larger, you got a dry air mass in place. We have a large dew point depression. What the radar has been doing, it's been kind of signaling to us when the atmosphere is saturated and when it is not. So about 2 hours ago, when we had this pretty dominant hole present on radar, that's the atmosphere signaling to us that we're not saturated yet. We're saturated aloft, but that dry air is eating up all of that snow that's falling from the cloud. It's actively precipitating, right? It is snowing, but it's what we call virga. It's snow or rain or whatever the situation is, it's falling into a dry air mass. Think of it as falling into a dry sponge, and you have to fully saturate that sponge before you have water dripping out the bottom, right? That's kind of what's happening here on an atmospheric level. So fast forward, let me clear this out and show you what it looks like now. That radar hole has completely filled in. So what's been happening is that hole's been contracting as the atmosphere has been getting saturated at lower level to the fact that it's saturated down to the surface. So now we're seeing ground verification that there is snow reaching the ground, so it's no longer falling as virga. I hope that's making sense. So let me show you here as a loop, so you can kind of see it play out, and you see that hole just kind of contract and collapse in and of itself. So since the radar site in Wakefield is so close to the ground, when you're starting to see the radar actually near the radar site showing snow, that gives you ground truth that it's falling closer to the ground and reaching the ground, okay? Hope that makes sense. All right, so we've got snow falling on out there. You can see the brighter returns, the darker blues as you get out towards Franklin. I was looking at some radar returns, traffic cameras out in South Suffolk along 58, and I did see some light snow there, nothing coated in the ground just yet. But the thing is, now that we're saturated at the surface, the intensity will really start to pick up now. It's almost like, how do you explain it? It's almost like we've reached that threshold, right? And now we've surpassed it, so now we can really start to bring in those higher snowfall rates, and that's indicated by the darker shades of blue that you're seeing on radar here near the radar site at Wakefield, out there at Franklin, down to northeastern North Carolina. Also, take note that the entire area right now is showing blue returns. This is the precipitation type as depicted by radar. So the blue indicates snow. As we get a little farther south of the Albemarle Sound, you see some of the purples there, and that's some freezing rain, and the pinks is going to be some sleet and ice. That's coming on in because there's a warm tongue that's well to the south, a warm nose. We're going to go into that, what that exactly means, and if we could see that verify farther to the north as we go through the night tonight, and our storm system overall matures and intensifies as it pushes to our southeast. But that's what's going on right now. And also keep in mind, so notice as I'm moving this, we get a different sample of radar. So this pulls up Morehead City. So we're getting a sampling farther down, closer to Morehead City, New Bern, places like that. Getting the southern portions of the Outer Banks, showing a lot more ice and sleet in those particular areas there. So it is what it is with some warmer air coming in the mid-levels. Then we transfer back up here to Wakefield. And I do want to also preface this, that it's showing snow everywhere, right? But remember what I just talked about with the radar beam shooting at an elevation? So when it's reaching northeast North Carolina, it's at like 2,500 feet. Okay, so yeah, what's falling from the cloud there is certainly frozen that high up, but is it verifying down to the ground as a snowflake, or is it falling into an air mass that's still a little bit too warm? Which, if we do look at temperatures here, we are seeing numbers that are still pretty safe above the freezing mark in a lot of locations. Norfolk Airport has been 37 for like the last 6 hours. It hasn't budged. 34 in Chesapeake, but you get to Hosky, we are below freezing. Roanoke Rapids just dropped again. There's the new update at the top of the hour here. 32 exactly at Franklin, 30 in Hosky, 29 Emporia to Richmond, 31 at Melfa. And you see Elizabeth City, 35, 34 at Moyock, where the radar was showing that it was falling as snow. It could still be falling as snow, some wet snow, albeit, but it could still be falling as snow. And what's happening here, too, is that with the dry air in place, so we've got dew points, say, in the teens, right? Air temperatures in the mid-30s. As the snow is falling into that dry air mass, what's happening is dew points are coming up, air temperatures are coming down as the air is getting saturated, right? And it's something called evaporative cooling. It's drawing in the cooler air and dropping air temperature. So that should take all these temperatures down to the freezing mark as the precipitation gets heavier and the air column gets more saturated over the next few hours. But radar right now is definitely showing widespread precipitation here. I stepped outside right before we started the stream here in downtown Norfolk, right along the Elizabeth River, to see if we had anything falling here. And I didn't see anything. That was about 15 minutes ago. And a look at radar here, you see kind of a void or a dry slot over northern Virginia Beach and eastern portions of Norfolk. Even in a downtown, the precipitation is rather light. So once we get the heavier snow to start to fall and reach the ground, like we're probably seeing out here in Suffolk right now. By the way, if anybody's watching this from across the area, if you want to just peek out your window at one of the outdoor lights and see if you see any snow falling or any precipitation at all, I would love to hear from you because, again, you have to be our eyes and ears, right? We can't be everywhere. I'm looking at radar here, but again, it's not ground truth. So if you can give me an observation, that would be greatly appreciated. You can find me on Facebook or Twitter or X, excuse me, and just drop an observation and make sure you put your location and the time, and that would be super helpful if you could do that. But out into the peninsula, we've got some heavier returns showing up in the Williamsburg area. I-64 there. In fact, as we're doing this, let me go ahead and look. I can't show you it on this here because I'm on a different website, but I'm going to look at some of the cameras up through Williamsburg and see if we are seeing anything on those that would indicate that, well, they're all dark there. Unfortunately, in that stretch of 64, there aren't many streetlights. So it's a little harder unless a car goes by that. Looks like the roads are wet along I-64 at mile marker 234. So that's just north of Centera Williamsburg, a regional medical center there on 64. So if you're familiar with that area, looks like roads are wet, so it's probably snowing there, just too light to really accumulate just yet. As we get into South Suffolk, let's see what this is looking like along 58. Oh yeah, we've got some snow falling on 58 near O'Kelly Drive. It's coming down pretty good there. In fact, I see it laying on the grass and the roadways there. So it is starting to reach the ground and starting to accumulate in some areas. So this is where we were looking here along 58. Before you get to Franklin, obviously, you're still in Suffolk, but you're heading southwest of the downtown area. You can see the returns there indicating that it is some moderate to even heavy snow. So that's what we're in for the next few hours. You can see lurking to our west, playing this out over the last hour, all of that along 95 and 85 is streaming in our direction. So if you've been sitting and watching and waiting patiently for the snow to start, it is starting now, and once it starts, it's going to pick up in intensity quite fast and then start to coat the roadways and really start to accumulate out there over the next couple of hours. But you can see out by Rocky Mount, and I was seeing a lot of observations out by the Raleigh area, that they did pick up a couple of inches of snow, especially northeast of the city. But you can see there in some of the returns as we loop it, even the current reading, there is sleet and snow and freezing rain mixing on in between Raleigh and Durham there. Rocky Mount, even along 95, starting to see some sleet and some ice mixing in there. But all snow for the time being out in our neck of the woods, with the heavier precipitation now starting to come on through. I do want to let you know that we are under all active winter storm alerts. So we do have winter storm warnings in all the pink that you see there. Most of Southside does exclude Virginia Beach, though, and that's based on the thinking of a warm nose building or nosing on in as we get into the overnight hours, and that would increase our chances of seeing more sleet, limiting snowfall totals. So winter storm warning criteria is the possibility, or now likelihood, now that it's been upgraded to a warning, of seeing at least 3 inches in 12 hours. So that's expected now, and you'll see the snowfall forecast here of all the various models and our forecast here at 13 News Now for snowfall amounts in just a minute. But Weather Service is expecting the same thing. Winter weather advisory is for less than that. So it will be inclement weather on the roadways, tough to travel here, but just likely not reaching that winter storm warning criteria there for at least 3 inches in 12 hours. Let's again talk about air temperatures versus our dew points. Here's some of the latest readings from across the area. So Norfolk is still at 37. I told you it hasn't budged. So when we went on at 6 o'clock, it was 37. So it hasn't moved. Dew point has also not come up. So this is at the airport, okay? Winds are reported there being calm. So we're not getting any mixing of the lower levels of the atmosphere at all. We're just dead calm with very dry air hunkered down at the surface. So it is snowing aloft as Virga at Norfolk International, but it is not reaching the ground because it's getting eaten up by that huge dew point depression. You've got a 22-degree spread between the temperature and the dew point right now. Huge dew point depression. Virginia Beach is at 36, 17 dew point, not much better. Some areas that's seen the dew points come up. Elizabeth City, you're up into the mid-20s now with an air temperature that's come to 35. 24 at Manio with an air temperature at 34. Now, these numbers don't have to match for it to snow, okay? They just need to lower the dew point depression. The difference between you should just get lower, okay? Last week, if you remember, actually it was this week, earlier this week, last Sunday, we had that winter weather event. We were seeing a similar thing, except the air was even drier. We had single-digit dew points at the onset, and we were still able to saturate the column and bring it down to the surface. So I have no doubt that we will do that. It's just been taking a little while longer than it was anticipated in our forecast. Again, here's a look at temperatures area-wide. West, where the heavier precipitation is, we've gone through that process of evaporative cooling, has brought the air temperature down. We'll sustain moderate to heavy snow for the next several hours, really through most of the overnight. We're looking at that. 29 at Wakefield, 35 over at Portsmouth. Okay, let's go through Futurecast, okay? So here is the 0Z run. So this is around the 7, 8 o'clock run, so the evening run of our graph model, which is a high-resolution, short-range model. And so one thing we do is we look at how the model diagnoses the current situation, how it initializes, okay? Because if the initialization is off, it's just going to get worse as it goes farther in time, right? If it's not getting the initial conditions right, how's it supposed to get a forecast right? So let's look at how it's compared to our current radar. You see that there. Let's go over to radar. Pretty similar, right? The initialization of the graph and the radar, very similar. Temperatures, though, a little off. Norfolk right now is saying it's 33. It is not. It's 37, so a 4-degree difference. However, much closer in other areas. Suffolk down at 32, Elizabeth City at 33. It's at 35 right now, so it's not too far off there. Let's see how it plays out. Jump ahead a couple hours. We're still looking at widespread moderate to heavy snow. Notice air temperatures almost everywhere have now dropped to at or below the freezing mark. What's happened? We've saturated the air column, Evaporative cooling has taken over, has dropped our temperatures just to the threshold we needed at to be sustaining snow over most of the area. But also notice at this point in time, we're talking 3 hours from now, 1:30 in the morning, we now have our rain snow line. Our warm nose is beginning to take shape. And you can see it down here, lurking through Manio, trying to nose its way in to the north and east, north and west from the south and east. You see it there, Manio's up to 35. That area of pink is going to be your transition zone of sleets and freezing rain. Let's see how that plays out as we go a little bit farther out. Okay, we're jumping ahead another hours, 3 o'clock, 3:30. Notice that rain snow line, and if you watched us earlier this evening, this graph model in general, as well as our other high-resolution short range, has been very consistent on showing a transition zone, a rain snow line that stalls. It doesn't work its way farther north in the south side. In fact, just again here with the latest run, the 0Z, shows that rain snow line at 3:30 in the morning, staying right across pretty much Knott's Island, right through Elizabeth City. You see Elizabeth City still at 32, Virginia Beach at 32, snowing north of there. Likely some sleet, a lot of it probably coming on down Elizabeth City over to Hertford, 31, and Murfreesboro. When you get snow to start, which we will see, and then a transition over to sleet, what does that sleet do? It compresses our snow totals, so it throws them all off. Sleet is the big fly in the ointment, okay? When you get sleet after a snowstorm, it makes it all crunchy, it just, whatever. And then you get the ice on top of it, and that'll be the case for some areas farther to the south there. But here we are at 3:30. We go ahead to 4 o'clock in the morning. Here we are at 5 a.m. A little bit of a change from our last model run. So by 5 o'clock, we're a couple hours from sunrise. Temperatures do start to rise through Southside a little bit. We're seeing that rain snow line lift up through Chesapeake and through Virginia Beach. Does this mean this will definitely happen? No, it doesn't, because this is an outlier from previous runs. But it does try to show that warm nose diving a little bit farther to the north and east. By this point, we should have several inches of snow on the ground, but if we do get that sleet again, it will compress it. Let's jump ahead to like 7 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. So this is a very progressive system. So here we are at 7 o'clock. The tail end of the precipitation now is beginning to push its way through our far eastern cities and counties. Temperature's still marginal, right? 32, 31, 33. So we still have that rain snow line. I think areas along the peninsula, interior south side, like Suffolk points west, Hampton, Williamsburg, Newport News, I think you guys are all staying snow. But it's going to be whether that rain snow line makes it to Norfolk, stays hung up through central and southern Chesapeake and central and southern Virginia Beach, or if it does make its way all the way north. So that's what we're looking at there. And then by 7:30, 8 o'clock, it's gone. 9 o'clock, it's all gone. Okay? So most of tomorrow will be not featuring snow falling or any precipitation falling. We'll see things start to clear out. So this is a progressive system. We're looking at the next 8 hours, 8, 9, 10 hours of moderate to heavy snow, picking up several inches of snow. And let's talk about how much snow we're talking here. Well, first, before we get to that, let's talk a little bit more about this warm nose, okay? Let's refresh ourselves on exactly what the different types of winter weather are and the atmospheric profile that makes those types of precipitation possible. In a scenario that Team Snow would favor, when we have the entire column of air from the cloud base to the surface, 32 or below, right? Cold enough, cold air all throughout the different levels from cloud base to the ground. You have a complete snow event. You have no warm tongue, okay? And that will be the case for areas in the peninsulas, interior south side, even interior North Carolina. But when you get even a small or a thin layer of warm air to nose in the mid-levels. What level? Like 5,000 feet. Okay, when you get that to nose in, that's when the snowflake will fall from the clouds, still as a snowflake, hit that warm layer, start to melt, not melt fully, and then refreeze into the sleet pellet. Now, when you thicken up that warm layer, you get that snowflake to fall, melt completely into a raindrop, and then with cold air being denser, hanging on closer to the surface, You see that raindrop then fall into a sub-freezing shallow layer near the ground, and you get freezing on contact, freezing rain. The worst type of winter weather, not only because it's not exciting, but because it really causes a lot of damage. It takes down tree limbs, power lines, it's just a mess. You don't ever want to see that. But sometimes it happens. It's life. But we'll likely see more in the way of sleet than freezing rain this go around because models are showing a more thin, warm nose coming on in. Let me show you how we can kind of see this on our computer models. Okay, I wish I could show it to you on our shorter range models because it'd be a little bit more higher resolution, but fortunately we can't show that. We can just show you our global models here. But the European has been doing a good job of this. So what I've done here is, well, with the computer models is that they allow us to examine the makeup of the atmosphere at different levels. Okay, we're getting an atmospheric profile, but I'm going to show it to you here looking straight down. This is the temperatures at 5,000 feet or the 850 millibar level. And the line you see on there on the bottom of your screen, that is going to be the line that delineates temperatures above freezing south of it and below freezing north of it. So north of the line stays snow, south of the line, sleet and ice. So this is not surface temperatures. This is 5,000 feet up. At the ground, we are all at or below freezing. It's what's going on at 5,000 feet. It's that warm tongue of air nosing on in, okay? Watch as we play this out. This is at midnight, so everybody has a cold profile. We see that line lift. Notice it just touches far southeastern Virginia Beach, and then by 8 o'clock, it begins to retreat back south. This is the European solution. As you just saw with the graph model, if we were to look at 850 temperatures with that, which we can on here, but it's probably showing that that line comes a little farther to the north. That warm nose getting a little bit farther to the north there, bringing that sleet potential into more of south side than what the European model here is showing. So that's something that's going to be, it's hard to predict where that happens, how long it happens for, but that's always the thing that can ruin the party for a snowstorm in Hampton Roads. And if you've lived here a while, you've experienced it. I haven't been here that long, but I've experienced it before. Back in 2017 is a good example of that when we had a blizzard warning in our area, and then we had sleet come on in and it kind of shut the whole thing down in terms of the large totals we were expecting. So here's what we're thinking. I'm still pretty confident in these numbers. And our high resolution short range does refresh every hour. I don't have it on here, but I have it on our computers. And it's been updating every hour, and it's been consistently showing pretty much what you're seeing here with a swath of heavier snow just set back to the north and west. So as I mentioned, like interior south side, peninsula, eastern shore, I think you're going to see the most snow here because you're going to stay snow the longest. I can't completely rule out you don't see a little bit of sleet, especially, at Hampton and Newport News, the farther south and east you are. Williamsburg, I think you're safe. You're all snow. Interior Smithfield, I think you're safe. Downtown Suffolk, I think you're safe as well. But areas farther to the south and east expect a steep gradient, a steep drop-off in totals based on the anticipation that we see sleet mixing on in, okay? And then you see down in northeastern North Carolina, an inch, a slushy inch with that mixture of sleet and maybe a little bit of freezing rain. I think it's gonna be mostly sleet. And then, of course, the wet snow to start that may add up just a little bit. How does that compare to all the computer models in terms of what they're seeing in terms of, I just got an update that in Suffolk, in Bennett's Creek, Suffolk, it is now snowing. So we're starting to see more and more ground truths there, which is some great news. All right, here's a look at the North American model, the NAM. I'm going to go through these quickly because I want you to see how consistent all of these are. There's a lot of agreement here, which means it's a higher confidence forecast. That's the NAM. There's the Euro, very similar, right? There's the GFS, very similar, maybe an inch difference from some of the areas, but overall shows that same swath just set up to our north and west, right? That's the GFS, and then here's the graph. What I just showed you, this is actually a brand new run of that and actually a little bit higher than what I saw earlier, but shows a widespread area of like 2 to 4, and then a lot lower farther to the south. Notice how big the drop-off is between Chesapeake and Elizabeth City, a 2-inch drop-off based on the anticipation of a mixture of sleet coming on in. So there is a lot of model agreement. Snowfall totals, higher confidence, but the biggest wild card in all this is how strong is that warm tongue that warm nose, how far does it lift north? In fact, Steve, can we pull up our sky view camera here? It's looking like visibility is dropping a little bit. I bet it's starting to snow in downtown Norfolk, if we can show you that really quick. There it is. See how the visibilities are dropping in the background? Almost looks like some fog. It is now snowing here in downtown Norfolk. It looks like Brambleton Avenue down there. You can see it in the bottom left part of your screen. I don't see anything coating the roads there yet, and I also don't see anything in front of the cameras, but it does look like it is snowing there. Let me look at some of these other cameras and see if we're getting any. Oh, yeah, here, pull up the Jordan Bridge, Steve. There we go. See snowflakes over there in Portsmouth, from Chesapeake to Portsmouth. Seeing some snowflakes flying there, folks. It's finally happening, and it is 10:30. So a little bit later than anticipated, but it is now snowing, and give it just a little while before we start to see it beginning to accumulate on area roadways. So let's walk through what things look like for tomorrow, okay? When you wake up, depending on when you wake up, it may be snowing. It may be a wintry mix, especially to the south and east, but it's not going to last much longer after you wake up. This is really an overnight storm system, okay? Heaviest of the snow probably from midnight through around 4 a.m. And there's talk, that's looking good on that Jordan Bridge camera. Again, Steve, if you want to throw that back up, intensity starting to pick up a little bit more. And that's the thing. Once we finally do saturate that column, it goes from light snow to moderate to heavy snow pretty quickly. The intensity will ramp up fast now that we're reaching the ground. But as I mentioned, an overnight snowstorm, pretty much. Most snow we've seen here in years. So big deal. But if there was to be a snowstorm, which there is, it's a good timing, right? Friday night into a Saturday. And then you got that nice buffer of the rest of the day, Saturday and Sunday, to get the roads back in fair condition to go back to work at school without an issue as we head into Monday morning. That being said, though, we will see temperatures tomorrow. If we can go back to graphics, Steve, you see temperatures tomorrow do climb above the freezing mark in the afternoon. So say we have several inches of snow on the ground. It's going to start melting. Then temperatures after the sun goes down tomorrow will drop into the 20s. So we are going to have several mornings, overnights and mornings, that we see a melting in the afternoon and then a refreeze overnight. Lots of icy spots. Now, even though it won't be snowing for over 36 hours once we hit Monday morning, I would not doubt that we get some delays still Monday morning because of the refreezing and because of the icy condition threat. So just keep that in mind, even though the snow will be gone by that point. Let's go back over to radar, okay? Let's see how that's looking. Now that we have ground truth in Suffolk, we've got it over in Portsmouth, we've got it in downtown Norfolk as well, that it is snowing. And look at radar here. Everything is painted blue. Notice where it's green, obviously over the ocean. We have water temperatures that are still in the mid-40s. Obviously, air temperatures are warmer over the warmer ocean waters, and that's falling as rain. But we've got pretty much widespread snow. If anybody's watching in northeastern North Carolina, particularly in Elizabeth City, and want to let me know what you're seeing, that would be wonderful. If we can get some ground truth on if, in fact, it is snow falling where you are or it is not. Let's see here. I'm seeing nothing in northeast North Carolina right now that was just now posted. We have light snowflakes that just started in Kempsville, Virginia Beach. Snowing in North Suffolk near Carrollton. Sticking in southern Suffolk. Snowing in downtown Suffolk. Snowing in Bayview. Great stuff, folks. Hey, I have a post on my Facebook page that's about this live stream at 10 o'clock on the 13 News Now Plus app. If you want to go there on Facebook and write in the comments, that's what folks are doing, what you're seeing and where you're located, that is super helpful. If you do it right now, read them right on there. Why not? We're having a good time. It's a Friday night. What else we got to do, right? It's a snow day. We're locked in at our houses. We're drinking some hot toddies. You know, we're having a good time. All right. Let's see here. All right, I'll just wait for you guys to chime on in. But that's what we're getting right now. We're getting a lot of reports in Suffolk, over in Virginia Beach, Norfolk right now, and you can see radar here definitely validating that because we are seeing widespread moderate snow here. Here's a loop over the last hour, and that's really the last hour has been a transition from eroding the dry air that's been stuck at the surface, bringing those dew points up, bringing air temperatures down, And now we've got snow falling and reaching the ground, and several areas are reporting that it is now coating the ground. So travel overnight will start to get much more treacherous if you are venturing out. If you work an overnight shift, or if you're like us here in News, we'll be driving around in the middle of the night. So stay safe out there if you can, or just if you don't have to go in, that would be great. Just perusing the comments, seeing if we're getting any other reports to share with you. Okay, Newport News, Denby area, snow coming down. All right, another one just came in. Bayview, snowing there. Okay. So it has begun. You notice radar here, you see the darker shades of blue, which is pretty much covering the majority of our area. And a loop here, we'll just go back 2 hours and show how it's really kind of expanding and intensifying in terms of the snowfall rates that we're seeing out there right now, which is interesting. In fact, you know what, Steve, you want to throw radar up real quick? I'm going to go and run outside our back door here and see if and maybe my mic will still work, maybe not, but I'll be back in just a second. Ooh, it is snowing. All right, folks, well, we got snow here in downtown Norfolk. Coming down, they're very fine flakes, and that's to be expected. So the consistency of the snow is very fine flakes coming down at a pretty good intensity, and that's because of the low moisture content in the air. So there's different types of snowflakes that falls based on the moisture content of the air. Right now we've got low moisture content, so small flakes. As we continue to saturate the air column, we'll see those flakes get bigger, right? Heavier, wetter. And those are the types of flakes that really will coat everything, make for really nice pictures tomorrow morning in those areas that stay snow all night, like up in the peninsulas, interior south side, and things like that. So that's what's going on now. Still, let's check and see if we got any more reports after I stepped outside. Let's see. Our digital manager, snowing in Hampton at 10:34. She even sent video too. Hampton Roads, Center Parkway at Big Bethel, sticking to car roofs and bushes and mulch beds, but not on the roads and sidewalks and grass just yet. That's good. And also, if you've been out and about today, well, we got snow in South Chesapeake. Thanks, Bill Windhorst. It just started snowing in Chesapeake near 168 and Hanbury Road, a few exits from the North Carolina border. Thank you very much, Bill. Let's see what else we got here. That was on emails. Anybody's checking up on Facebook? Oh boy, we got some reports here. Great Bridge, snowing a little bit there. Newport News, Denby area, snowing now harder and sticking. Newport News near the James River Bridge, light snow. Virginia Beach near Mount Trashmore, it is snowing. Folks, love it. Thank you for your reports, because this really helps us kind of verify what's going on radar and giving us some ground truth. So keep them coming. Again, folks are reporting what they're seeing on my Facebook page under my post about this live stream. I believe it says live stream at 10 p.m. on the 13 News Now Plus app. Get on your little phones, head on over to Facebook, and let me know what you're seeing outside. And by the way, now that the snow has started, we're in for our period of snow for about next 4 or 5 hours, pretty much. And we could get snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. So that will eventually translate to, I think we're thinking roughly 2 to 5 inches. Higher totals will be north and west, and those lower totals a little bit farther to the south and east there. And of course, it's all going to be dependent on what we see in terms of a mixture or change over to sleet for a period of time. If you have the snow and it changes over to sleet, it will still accumulate. But the thing is with sleet is it compresses the snow. So once you get a measurement, it's just going to come in showing a whole lot less than it actually is. And in fact, you see this loop. This is a 2-hour loop. Let me go to the current image. And you can already see here down into the Bertie County area, we are already starting to see some indications. I don't know if that's actually happening or not, but radar seeing that would be icing or freezing rain. I'm not sure if that's, let's see what the temperatures look like down there. Get down to Edenton and see a number down there. Hereford's not reporting. Edenton's 34. Gatesville's at 32. So if it was freezing rain in Edenton, it would need to be 32, which it's not. So I think that might be the radar just overextending and not calibrating correctly at that distance from the radar site. Because you see where the radar beam is. That's a pretty good distance from where it is. In fact, that distance is about almost 70 miles. So you're shooting at a pretty high elevation there, and freezing rain at that altitude, probably not happening. Most of the area is seeing some snow. And then here we go over Edenton. See the green showing up there? You saw the air temperature there was 34. There could be a little bit of some rain-snow mix there, for sure. But I did see that somebody reported from northeast North Carolina that there was still nothing falling, which kind of find hard to believe with these kind of radar returns and showing reports everywhere else. But that may be true. Let's see. We got a few more reports here. Menchville, area of Newport News, snowing there. Harborview in northern Suffolk, cars are covered. Let's see if we're getting anything else in here. Not seeing any more reports at the moment. Oh, here we go. A couple more just came in. East of James City County at 1040, snow sticking. Newport News, snow is sticking. Snowing in the Kiln Creek area of Newport News, York County. Snowing in Menchville. Now, let me put a separate post here. That usually gets people posting. Let's see. In real time. Posting in real time, folks. Okay, posted. We'll see if we get some reports there coming up in just a little bit. As we're speaking, there's the radar return. You got a new sweep coming in there, refreshing the data. Still looks like widespread moderate snow now. Hey, Paige, would you do me a favor? Would you go and just stick your head out the door and just tell me what you're seeing? Last I checked, I want to see if it changed. It was light. It was small flakes, but snowing heavily. Paige is en route, folks. Our amazing director / floor attendant this evening. She's going to give us a live report what's going on right now. Just waiting in anticipation. Okay. All right, as we look at this, dew points, though, are starting to come up. Newport News has jumped. Came down to 31 degrees. Dew point came up to 24. So that's a big increase. We were in the teens last time we checked this. So snow is reaching the ground there. You saw that there were numerous reports. Steve, can you pull the Jordan Bridge camera again, please? Yeah, see that snow there? Not seeing anything on the roads, although a couple cars went by there, and it looks like you could see their tracks a little bit. So maybe it's starting to lay on there. Of course, bridges and overpasses, we'll see the accumulations first, as they will freeze first. Okay, we got some places snowing in Chesapeake. Snowing hard in Western Branch, snowing in Winona, snowing in Thalia. What's it doing?
It's a lot.
It's snowing a lot?
Yeah, coming down. I mean, I don't know, steadily.
Steadily snowing. Okay, yeah. All right. Getting lots of reports, folks. This is exciting. This is exciting. Okay, all right. We're going to wrap this up in just a few minutes, though, folks, because we have to get ready for our on-air show, 13 News Now at 11. I hope you can join us on there. But you know what? On our Streaming Plus app that you're joining us now on the stream, we are also streaming live our radar. So you can continue to track this on your phone, on your app, on your Roku or Apple TV device or anything like that, and continue along. And I hope you join us at 11 on 13 News Now Plus. And then you know what? Maybe after that, we'll hop back on this and do another stream for you and talk a little bit more science stuff. How's that sound? That sounds good. All right, folks, enjoy the rest of your night. If you're not going to join us at 13 News Now at 11, we'll see you a little bit later.